Hello again. This is Data Dan Sandler. Coming to you with part 5 of our series of getting Hadoop running off the ground, streaming social media to a Hadoop environment that we've set up in the Amazon cloud, and doing some basic queries off of it. So, in this part of the series, we are going to configure this portion, the Flume streaming agent that's defined here. Flume, as you can tell, it's got a very colorful logo. It basically is one of the more amazing pieces of technology that I've had the pleasure of working with. It is lightning fast, it's easy to configure. Once you really understand what you're doing, um, there's nothing that, I shouldn't say there's nothing it can't do. It can do a lot, though, I can tell you that. So, the idea is that we configure a Twitter source for Flume, and Flume will stream the tweets, the ones that are relevant to us, anything related to big data, essentially, into our Hadoop file system. So this is actually going to be a few steps, nothing big. Okay, the first thing we want to do, go to our favorite temp directory. Okay, by the way, I've SSH'd into my Amazon EC2 instance. If you forgot how, might as well start from there. Just SSH in. Okay, use your key pair file. Okay, go to temp, and we're going to make a directory called Twitter install. Okay, what this is going to do, we're going to get from GitHub, which, by the way, I'm a data architect. I'm not an app developer. I'm slowly, well, not slowly. I am in the rapid descent into that world, though, and so you have to get used to things like GitHub if you're sort of fit my sort of background, where you're familiar with sort of the app world and open source and maybe even some Java development. I'm a hack when it comes to Java, but I also have some Java code running in production, so I can't be that bad. So essentially, GitHub is a source code repository. If I were to sum it up, that's based on not a textbook definition, just from what I see with my own eyes. But what people can do is share their code all around the world, which is what our friends at Cloudera have done. So that's what I've just accessed. I've grabbed a master zip file. I'm going to unzip. Okay. So I've just unzipped those, and this gives us everything, all the source code that's needed to run our example. So we're not going to build this stuff from scratch. The source code is there, and if you're familiar with Java, I highly recommend you go to their GitHub project. Here's a URL. And poke around. You definitely want to see this. So like, I took a deep dive into the code just to give you a quick overview. Okay, so these are the constants. These are basically telling, we want to see, these look familiar, right? This is what we did in part 4 of our series. Consumer key, secret, access token. This is your registered Twitter app. Okay, so these are become part of your properties in your config file. So that's really that prior class is basically reading in and getting the properties and the configuration. So this is reading those constants, consumer key. Those are all set up in our config file for Flume, which I'm about to show you. Okay. This is actually, so here are all the Apache classes, packages, I should say. And you'll see here that we have this thing called Twitter for J. So Twitter for J, for those who aren't familiar with it's a package. It's available. It basically allows you to do a lot of to do what we do here, which is basically set up a Twitter stream. And Twitter stream is instantiated. Right. So you add the listener here. Okay. So it's instantiated up above. Right there. New Twitter stream factory. Based on the configuration, right? It's going to JSON store enable. So what we're really getting is a JSON stream, and I'll show. We'll see what that looks like and when we actually get this thing running. I think it's in step or part 7 of our series. It adds a listener, authenticates you. You have the access token, and then you start sampling, and then you start filtering. So we're going to filter on the keywords, and that's what we see here. Right there. Those keywords, that's part of our properties file. Okay. So going back to here, we've just unzipped the file. Let's go to I'm also going to get this jar file. So this is everything pre-built. Okay. So I don't want to build all this stuff. I'll just get the jar. I'm going to move that into our Hadoop folder, our live folder, I should say. So move Flume there to lib, so that when Hadoop looks for the libraries, it's got what it needs. Okay. Also going to copy /etc Flume ng config Flume env.sh.template to /etc/Flume ng config -env.sh. Okay. Take that template script and we're going to edit that script. And we're going to add that jar to the location of that jar to our class path. So vi let's see Flume. By the way, I should have mentioned this way back when, but I'm assuming you have experience with navigating, doing sort of simple vi commands and edits on a Linux machine. Otherwise, you're probably lost right now. Yeah, that is set your class path. So it's user lib Hadoop, and this right here. Just going to make sure that I have everything set properly. SSH into my other machine. That's all we need. Okay. It's good to have a reference implementation. That is for sure. So we're going to create a Flume ng agent file. So that is something that is in that we actually downloaded. So go back, find name Flume-ng-agent. So here's what it looks like. Here's what it should look like. That's in Etsy default. This is basically the agent it's going to start when these services fire up. Okay, just make sure I have the correct Twitter agent name. Default. I called it social agent. It basically just has to correspond to the config file. And I called it social agent in the other example because, or I should say my other environment, because I have two social media streams for this Flume agent. Here we only have Twitter. And actually the tutorial for Cloudera refers to it as Twitter agent. So we'll keep it at that. Now it's time to edit our Flume config file. Etsy Flume config. Actually, what we want to do is find the one that we downloaded from the Cloudera tutorial. We're going to copy that. First, let's back up the one that's out there. Etsy Flume config dot config /Etsy Flume config. Okay, so we got to back up. Now we're going to copy Twitter master Flume sources. This is, by the way, one of the more important files we'll be editing. Flume config. Override it. Yes. Now we're going to edit. And you'll get a first. You get your first taste at what the innards of Flume config look like. Actually, it's kind of understandable. So you define a source, define a channel, you define sinks. That's at this level. Then within sources, you can see here this source is built off that. It has its own properties. So you define a class as a type. This is a Twitter source. That Twitter source corresponds to this Twitter source Java. So it all kind of hangs together. This is a custom source. Okay. The sink says, okay, it's going to go to Hadoop file system. Here, so these are when the properties come in. So these are the constants that are taken in by Twitter source constants. Okay, it's a memory channel. So here's where the keywords are stated. You can add to them, remove them as you see fit. For example, the scientist is not spelled correctly. Okay. Now it's spelled correctly. So the one thing is this corresponds to a name node. So you're going to want to make sure that corresponds to the name node that's set up in our environment. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna um, I'm going to pause it for a second just to make sure I have the right name node. The reason is because I'm going to look at the how I configured it in the other example. The reason why I need to pause it is because I don't want to show you my consumer key and token. So 1 second, bear with me please. Okay, I'm back. This should be the host name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this file. Let's say host name. So it's IP-1068.2186. I think that's what it was. So this is basically putting it to a path on your Hadoop file system, and it's doing so using a year, YYY, month, day, hour format. Okay, that's the convention. It will basically write to text. I think it can do binary as well. Batch size, roll size. This means that how many things are going to be in one particular file, because basically it chunks out these files, and these parameters define the chunk size. Okay, so roll count 10,000, roll size means that it's unlimited, so it's really looking for a certain size. Okay, that's really the defining factor. Okay, and then the channel type is memory, capacity is 10,000, transaction capacity is 100. So these are all configurable. You want to size the files in a way that makes sense for the data you're streaming. I've just taken the default. I haven't played around with it enough to say here's the right sort of balance between. Too many files are probably going to be a little too chatty when it comes time to get the data off the Hadoop file system. Too big, and that's not the right size. So we're trying to look for the Goldilocks zone, and it's kind of it's an art and a science at the same time. I got it wrong. It's 1068.2186. 1068.2186. So let me just change that, and I'm going to also press pause right now, and I'm going to set my consumer key and tokens without you guys watching, if you don't mind. I'm back. I actually was almost overlooked the correct host name. Let me show you where to get the host name, by the way. You want to go to your Cloud Air Manager. If you remember, it's the host name here, the external host name that you can get from your instance. Okay, it's right there. Get that, go to 7180, okay, go to hosts, so services and hosts, right there. That's what you want, okay? So you're going to copy that here. Make sure you got the right one. Oh, this helps. Otherwise, that stuff will happen. Okay, I'm going to pause it one more time, and now I'm going to set my access keys. Okay, I'm glad you're back. So by now you should have your Flume config file all set up to go. We're not going to restart the service yet. It's best that we do some Hive setup and Uzi configuration before we get that ball rolling. But that's it. We've got Flume ready to go. We've got our Twitter app registered to our Flume agent, and we are 3 steps away from streaming data to our environment. So I hope you guys are excited. We're getting to the point where you'll see some results very soon. Okay. Again, my name is Dan Sandler. You can follow me at Data Dan Sandler on Twitter. That's at Data Dan Sandler. Or you can follow my blog at www.datadanSandler.com. Till then, good luck. See you. Bye.